The hell is that?
It's an IPA. It's called Wrench.
Oh,
You heard of it?
no.
Wrench?
It's from Industrial Arts in New York. Um, it's
Is
probably
that alcohol?
yeah, it's alcohol. It's a hazy IPA.
That's all right. This is the time to do it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
surprisingly, I normally am ripping them back during games, but I went out last night. It's pretty hungover most of the day, so
There you go.
take it
It's a good
easy.
way. It's a
Yeah,
good way to start.
Well, you might be hungover again by the end of the show. So,
maybe it'll be a happy hangover though. Not
absolutely.
not one of
100%.
despair. Yeah.
So, everybody is now joining us live as we are wrapping up week number 2, game number 2. Rutgers 2-0, a 36-7 win over Temple. It was 14-7 in the fourth. And I think there were a lot of fans. Mike brought it up, Richie, the Nebraska game last year. That's what I was feeling there first. I think a lot of fans were feeling the same thing. Like, oh no, here we go again. We're going to blow a
Yep.
game that we should have won. And then they pulled it off. Maybe the best, that's probably the gutsiest response drive that we've seen from this Rutgers offense in a few years.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. They Temple drove down the field in that third quarter, and I was like, oh shit, this is it, like 13-7. And then I was like, all right, never mind. They stopped him on fourth down, and then they just did nothing on offense again. And I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
here goes Temple again down the field, and they scored 13-7. And like you said, it's like Nebraska all over again. It's like, oh my god, here we go. And then Monangai just, I don't even know, he channeled his inner Isaiah Pacheco and just couldn't get tackled at all
God.
on that
I
drive.
love Kyle
Like,
guy, man. I was just
insane.
all game. I'm like, every single time he touches the ball, it's not always a positive game, but he never makes mistakes. He's great in in pass protection. He's great at making the first defender miss. He's great at making reads when he's running the ball downfield. Like, I just love everything about that kid. Favorite
Yeah.
player on the team.
No, phenomenal. And I was gonna say, like, halfway through, like, we have a little group chat, and halfway through the group chat, I was gonna say, like, halfway through the game, I should say, I was gonna be like, Benjamin should be getting some of these non-guy carries, and then all of a sudden he breaks one, and I'm like, oh shit, never mind, delete.
Yep.
But yeah,
He kind of reminds me of Juwan Jameson a bit from back in the day.
yeah, Benjamin, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the
Monangai.
guy.
Really?
Just like
Okay.
little bowling ball, little undersized.
True.
And he's not even that undersized. I think he's probably like 5'11", but
Yeah, he's got decent size. It's just he was such a slept-on recruit because Jalen Berger was right next to him. But yeah, no. But going back to the whole game, the ending, I guess, was just I didn't see it coming. I didn't see 23 unanswered coming. That was just absolutely insane. And the offense kicked it on finally. I don't know what happened in that third quarter, but the fourth quarter, completely different team. And then the defense, obviously, a couple turnovers. Defensive ends are getting interceptions over here, and I don't know. It was just a wild sequence of events.
Well, we're already, as we can see, the message board is in action. So we appreciate anybody who wants to donate to the program. Just like last week, we appreciate that. You can use any of the super thanks or thanks options right by the message board, and you can do it not only for the live broadcast, but also if you happen to watch it afterwards. Because I think most of the traffic came afterwards, because especially this late at night, I can imagine. It's pretty late. We're recording this close to 12 midnight, so we appreciate anything out there that you guys can do, but we also appreciate your comments. And Richie is going to update the message board as we go along. But let's first of all, I got to ask you, just like I asked you last week, Rich, how was the blackout Saturday night attendance? How was the atmosphere in the beginning of the game?
Not great.
Okay. Nice.
I thought it was because a lot of people were. If you actually looked, like I go outside once in a while to see like what the ticket lines look like, and the ticket line was just like it was pretty bad still. I don't know what's going on there. Or I know a lot of people are complaining on social media and on our message boards about just people not being able to scan the tickets. I don't know what the issue is there. It's 2023. You should be able to scan the ticket. Come on,
Okay.
next. Let's keep it moving.
Wow.
So there were some late arrivals, but student section showed up once again, which was very impressive. They filled in those corners again, which those corners, as I said, I think last week on our pod, they've been bare in the past. But yeah, students showed out. I would say probably about 35,000 total. Not a great crowd, but given the weather and everything that happened in the monsoon, they were telling people to shelter in place at one point during tailgating. So
Yeah, that sounded
It's
wild.
Really?
it's not crazy. So I guess 35 is pretty solid. I think next week for 3:30 versus Virginia Tech, 2-0 Rutgers, you might have a really, really good crowd as long as weather cooperates.
Yeah, I think you will.
Yeah, I'm obviously not in New Jersey, so as you can see by my tag, and I had no idea. So what the weather was really bad in the area?
Yeah, complete like monsoon type weather. I don't know what happened because it was nice out and then it said it wasn't going to rain. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting texts from one of our guys, Alec, who's at the stadium before me with the riot squad. And he's sending me videos of like a monsoon. And I'm sitting here and like 15 minutes away. And I'm like, dude, it's like not sunny, but it's not cloudy either. Like, what are you talking about? And
Yep.
15 minutes later, I'm like, oh shit, never mind. Like, absolutely insane.
Hey,
But
at least it didn't affect the game. That's for sure.
yeah, I really thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be running the ball nonstop for both teams, and that kind of was the case, regardless for Rutgers
Yeah.
at least. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was overall the crowd it was solid. It wasn't crazy good, but it wasn't crazy bad either. Just a solid crowd.
All right, so I'm
There
gonna
were
go.
some pictures I saw from before the game of like the blue lot that was in like 4 inches of water. Like everybody was just totally drenched. People were losing tents. Like it really looked like it was like a hurricane out there for a while.
Yeah,
But anyway,
Well, when you're the favorite, you don't want the weather to affect the game. So, got a break there that the weather did not, and Rutgers eventually wore out Temple. So let's go through the game and start early, of course, in the first quarter. And Rutgers, another solid drive to open things up. And matter of fact, you had a few key plays. You had the 3rd and 8 Jackson 9-yard completion. And by the way, Jackson, I have to say this, and I know Washington had a bad fumble, but Jackson to me looks like he's like the number one guy. Would you agree?
yep. Been saying it
he's
all
the
training
most
camp.
he's the most NFL ready receiver on the team for sure.
Yeah.
I think Ian Strong has the highest upside of any receiver on the team, but
Yeah.
Jaquay Jackson is the best receiver we have right now for sure.
Great. Wait, I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't even realize it. Where was he? Strong.
Ian Strong?
Yeah.
That's a great question because I thought when they announced Chris Long being out ahead of the game, I was like, okay, this is going to be an Ian Strong breakout game. And then I saw him occasionally on the field. I think he tore his jersey at one point and had to switch from number 29 to number 94.
Okay.
At least that's they announced that at the stadium, right, Rich? I was there. But
that wasn't torn. It's because of I forget what it was. Something with special teams. If you want to be on special teams with the same guy, same number, they did it with someone else last week too. They just throw a jersey over them like real quick. And it's just so you could have 2 of the same player. But yeah, no, Jaquay's wide receiver 1. I think I've said that from day one, honestly, since he arrived.
And people were giving you shit last week because he played like barely any. And it's like, did you not notice he possibly got concussed in the first quarter? Like that's why he didn't play.
Yeah, no, that was pretty bad. And speaking of concussions, the wide receiver 2, in my opinion, right now, Christian Dremel almost got crushed twice, I think, on this game.
Yeah.
He's probably got some broken ribs.
Wimsatt laid him out, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's is what it is. But Jaquay Jackson, legit.
So Strong played though. He just didn't get any snaps or balls thrown his way.
In the late game, I think it was not the victory formation, but the drive before that where Sam Brown did that the little catch and then the touchdown. Yeah, I believe he was in for a couple snaps on that, but I think I'm like 95% sure it was him, but can't say for certain.
I definitely saw him at points in the game for sure.
Okay, so yeah, then
interesting.
There you go.
Okay, all right. So, as a matter of fact, we're going to be looking at some of the clips from Rutgers rivals. Of course, this is where you can go for the Twitter feed for the show, actually for the channel, and I'm going to throw the clips up here so the viewers can see it. Right now, we're going to take a look at the first big run by Benjamin. And this is the one that set up the first touchdown right here it was about 18 yards, I believe. Initially they called it in, but we kind of figured that wasn't going to be the case. But anyway, they get off to an early lead. And what did you think about how things were going? Because the host of the broadcast was aggravating me to death because he must have brought up last week 10 times in the first quarter about how much it reminded him of last week, and he was like putting the kebab on Rutgers about how great they looked early on. But anyway, they still looked good, but maybe they should have looked a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they looked pretty good in that first drive, and then obviously the fumble. Then the second drive comes, and they look pretty good again. And I'm like, oh shit, this team might put up like 40 on Temple. And I mean, lo and behold, they almost did. But yeah, no, I thought I almost said Jaquay Jackson. Deshaun Benjamin was a great piece. Like I said before, I was texting our group chat, like getting ready to say, like, dude, get this kid more carries. Like his vision is incredible. He's just get that one cut and then he breaks. And it's like a home run hit. Maybe it's not for like a 40-yard game, but it's at least like a 10-plus yard game. I think he's going to be a mainstay in the running back field, even when in the running back committee, I guess now, even when Sam Brown comes back fully healthy, because
and Young too.
Yeah, I forgot all about him. Who was healthy technically today?
That's right. Yeah, so. and the touchdown, of course, came after Washington's fumble. We just talked about how Dremel was left hang out to dry by a bad pass by Wimsatt. And I got to say this. Look, it's sort of like that play to Washington, and also the play in the second half where he was trying to get him in the corner of the end zone. He's not a playmaker. And it's like they're trying. I know they don't have guys, but they kind of do. I mean, they got Jackson, they got Strong. They're trying to make Washington into somebody he's not. And I don't think he's the guy that you give the ball in that spot, like a receiver screen situation, to try to ask him to make a play. It's just not that type of playmaker. And then he fumbles the ball, and that was a bad spot, but at least they rebounded, scored on the next drive.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and I get it. He's a veteran. You want to get the veteran guy. He has the most experience. He knows. It's not like he knows more about the offense than anyone because they're all there at the same time with the new OC. He's shown glimpses of like his potential in practice. We've seen it.
Yeah,
seen it over the past couple seasons too. Like with different, ironically, with never Noah Vedral. It was always the backup quarterback he looked good with. But he's shown flashes of what he could do, and then he just can't put it together. Then
do you remember that one-handed long touchdown catch he had in the spring game 2 years ago?
Yeah,
it was like literally like the Sports Center like top play of the day for whatever it was, the middle of April.
Didn't he torch Wagner last year too?
Probably.
I think it was him. I might be wrong on that though. There was
Wagner was like a pool party last year.
Wagner.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he had one for 43 yards and a touchdown, and it's like, he has flashes, but he just can't put it together. And it's year 5, 6 even.
Yeah, he is who he is. That's it.
Year 4, maybe 5, whatever it is. It's just I think you gotta next week. You gotta make an adjustment. I think Jaquay Jackson's earned his role as starter. I think Chris Long, if healthy, is probably a starter, and Christian Dremel is your slot guy. But like you said, he might have a broken rib, so who the hell knows?
If everybody's healthy, honestly, Washington should be number 4.
Argue 5 behind being Strong at this point.
Absolutely, yeah.
One thing that's shocking that from the first 2 games that I've noticed, and just only because Kirk Soraka has been known to use tight ends a lot, especially like 2 tight end sets. Where is the tight end usage in this offense? It's just not.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat right now. Everyone's asking where's Bauman at, and I'm like, well, Bauman, like it's weird because Bauman came in as like this notable receiver, and they're just using him specifically as a blocker.
Yep.
And I get it. He's massive. Don't get me wrong. He's like 6'4", 6'5", 240, 250. Yep. Like he's bulky. But I think he's a pretty damn good receiver too. Like use him a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's weird because our board. You've seen this, Mike, too. And the guy Are Soho has pointed out multiple times because I said before I was like Christian Dremel might be like one of your top receivers, and he's like, Soraka has never had a receiver that's over or under 6'1" or 6 foot or something like that, and Christian Dremel's like 5'9". And I was like, oh, just watch, man. Like this year, he's going to use 2 tight end sets, and I'm like. They use 2 tight end sets when they're running sometimes, but that's about it. Like they don't use the tight ends at all. Like 0 targets for the tight ends today.
Yeah.
And is that a product of the guys just not developing or them not being useful? Maybe. But the run game was working too, so why change it?
Yep.
Patel. How about Patel?
Oh man.
Nailing first he had a 51-yarder.
Yep.
And then he hits this one here. This is the 43-yarder he hits to put Rutgers up 13-0 mid-second. But that 51-yarder shocked me. I mean, I've been listening to you talk, Richie, about his where his zone is, and 51 is definitely not it.
Yeah. No, you're spot on there. I've been saying it. I was shocked. We've seen him in camp, and there were times where he was attempting 50-yarders, and it's just like 10, 15 yards short. And I'm like, all right. And then I figure, like, yeah, you know what? Maybe they'll go with like a 2-kicker system. Like Jude's got that big leg. Obviously, as you can tell with all the kickoffs, he's.
Oh my God! What a welcome thing that is too.
Has one been returned yet? Like at all?
No.
It's insane. So I figured he'd be like the long guy, and then Patel would be like the short distance kicker. And you see Patel come out there for the 51-yard attempt, and I'm like, oh shit, let's see what happens. And boom, I'm like, oh my God, okay, never mind, take it back. Mm-hmm. So he just knows how to control the ball really well. He's a great kicker. It's a shame that he wasn't able to really participate last year based on he actually had a lung collapse on him randomly right before camp, and it kind of hurt his chances of becoming a contributor last season. But now he's fully healthy and won the job. I don't think anyone saw him winning the job because it was Jude's job going into camp.
Well, so far so good.
It's nice that Shannon feel comfortable enough to put a guy out there who is so young at that kind of distance early in the game too. It's not like, this is to put Rutgers up by 20. This is to go up by 10.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what was interesting is that the 51-yarder came when they ran those really weird play calls to begin the second quarter where Wimsatt, it was almost like we were watching the offense from last year. It's like Wimsatt had it almost looked like Wildcat runs. It's like they were going nowhere. It didn't even look like they just looked discombobulated for the first time, and I didn't know it just was weird. And then all of a sudden he throws them out there. It almost looked like to me that, hey, let's set this up for a 51-yard attempt to see if this kid can make it. That's how weird it was. About that, it was the two worst play calls I think that they had the entire game, but it worked out. So
there was one really weird play call right before half. Like I thought they, instead of chucking it down the field, maybe use your timeout a little bit more strategically and kind of throw like a 15, 20-yard like route real quick right along the sideline and go for a deep field goal at least, but to go up 16-0 instead of 13-0, and I don't know, that was probably the biggest question mark I'd say of the day.
Yeah, it reminded me of that situation. You remember the Eagles won the Super Bowl against the Giants week 3? They hit that 61-yarder because they did a similar situation where they had like 6 seconds left. They ran like a 10-yard out to Alshon Jeffrey on the sideline to set up a long field goal. I agree. That's what they should have done. Gavin also took a massive shot on that Hail Mary toss too. So that's not something you want to
those are
line
dangerous.
him up with.
Yes.
Yep.
He took a couple deep hard shots. Deep shots. Jeez.
And then that play in between the two field goals where who was it that again, the host of the show is just terrible because I didn't know who it was who stripped Warner. He never said who it was. Everything went so fast. He never said it. So who was it that stripped Warner? And then we never got the ball.
So that looked like on replay that he like intentionally fumbled it forward. So that play should have been blown dead, or he should have been penalized for that. And they ended up recovering it somehow.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. Yeah. 10 yards ahead of the field. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know how a Rutgers player didn't come up with that ball, given that it was like the 6 Rutgers guy, and
crazy.
The guy who recovered it for Temple was like trailing the play too. It just happened to like squirt out of 2 guys' hands. That's another thing. I thought the officiating was downright terrible tonight.
Oh God, brutal.
Well, we got another break. We'll get into that in a little bit by the officials. Then you had the near injury. Well, one of the two, both guys go down. Pierce and Needham.
Yeah.
And we were all just holding our breath with Pierce.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, every player, it hurts when they go down. I'm not trying to knock Needham, but this team cannot lose Pierce. We all know that.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we don't have an update. Needham did not come back, did he?
No, but Pierce did.
Yeah.
Edom got carted off the field, actually.
Yeah, not looking promising there. And I thought Kamar Missouri, okay. It's Temple. They don't have a great D line from what we've said on our pod. Even like Kyle, who we interviewed earlier this week, said their D line kind of stinks. But
Yep.
can you trust Kamar Missouri, who I think actually got a holding penalty on one, to go against like a Virginia Tech D line? I don't know how good their D line is either, but I don't know. I think you might have to rotate in one of those redshirt freshmen, whether it be Taj White, who's your backup left tackle, maybe slide him over to right again, or another guy. Dominic Rivera was making some noise in camp, maybe, but it's so tough for a true freshman to kind of go out there. I don't know what you do. You're in kind of a shitty situation at the moment.
How did Needham rank 1 out of 5 as far as top linemen on the team?
4, maybe 5.
Okay, so it's not the worst. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
but we don't even know. I mean, no update at this point, right? So we don't know.
No,
hopefully he'll be back, but it doesn't look good for now. Ciafone, he was the one that was charged the holding call, right, on the big 30-yard gain by Washington. I think that was like
I think that was like the play after the lineman double doink where they both got hurt on the same play.
Yeah, that was like the biggest penalty I think we had that negated a big play.
That's what it was. He had the holding. I said Missouri. It's my fault. Yeah.
Then you had, matter of fact, right after that, you had the perfect pass. It was Wimsatt's best pass of the day. The 60-yarder to Jackson on 2nd and 20 from the 9. That was a perfect pass.
They could have had that play like every single snap if they wanted it to. Like there was the one he missed pretty badly on, but yeah, you're right. That was a perfect throw. Jackson was getting behind everybody on Temple's secondary, and that was supposed to be a strength of their team, from what Kyle said too. So, pretty good feather in his cap to get behind a decent set of defensive backs, knowing what we're going to face in the Big Ten.
But then
it's just nice to see a deep ball.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a deep ball all season so far. That was the first one, and it worked. And then they're like, "Yeah, no, run the ball next." Like, okay.
Well, I mean, right after that, Wimsatt again showed his inconsistency because he had 2 really bad passes. And then he had to settle for the 47-yarder because one pass, the guy was wide open for a 10-yard gain, and he just threw it way over his head. The other one was just, it was up the middle, but it was completely, I think, ahead of the guy. I don't know who it was, but that set up the 47-yard field goal. And basically that was it for the first half. They did have the one sack. How do you?
Oh, yeah.
Igbenosum, yeah. He had that 15-yard sack, which was key because they were at the 35, I think, of Rutgers, and that took him out of field goal range.
Yeah, only sack of the day. The D line was not creating as much pressure as I thought.
I agree.
Yeah,
now, they passed the ball they did a lot of quick passes, and that was their strategy. But you're right, they had opportunities, and they just did not. We should have that was the disappointment of the game.
They had so many just like lollipops to like guys who were running like wheel routes or running to the outside. Like it seemed like they converted a lot of those kind of plays late in the game, like second, third quarter, where it was just like we had put pressure on Warner. He like rolls out, we get a big hit on him, and then he just lofts one to Dante. Dante Wright caught so many balls today. I don't know have his exact stat line, but it seemed like everything was going to number 10.
5 for 59, 10 targets. Okay. Like, yeah. It's pretty crazy. He also EJ Warner's known as getting the ball out quickly as possible. I think he has like one of the top 10 fastest like release times or something like that last year.
Yep.
So
yeah,
sense.
that would and it still worked out for Rutgers. So then in the third, Temple was driving. Rogers got beat on that 3rd and long to the 5-yard line. Looked like Temple was about to go in, but then the Flip Dixon show started.
Oh, man. He was phenomenal.
He made the big stop on the 3rd and goal Wildcat, and then the pass defense on the 4th and goal. And this was the play I was talking about because they were going to call pass interference. They could have called pass interference. They reversed the call. If they don't reverse the call, they're going to score a touchdown. So, as bad as the officiating, I guess, was, Rutgers got a break. And like we talked about last week, Richie, Rutgers has been getting some breaks on these officiating calls the last couple of weeks. They've been taking these big plays and they've been reversing them in Rutgers' favor.
Yeah, there were so many bad calls today though. Like the one defensive pass interference, it was like maybe not.
Then the one on longer beam was terrible.
Yeah, that was one, and then there was like two others where they're like they threw a flag, and then they're like no flag, no penalty, and it's like all right, whatever. Yep. 10 seconds later, on going down the other sideline, it's like they threw a flag, no penalty, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? How many times can you throw it and not be a penalty? The guy on the sideline is clearly going like this with the flag. Like, he's trying to call it, but someone's yelling at him like, dude, what are you doing? Stop. Like, and they just looked lost. Like, you saw them on when they went, like, off screen to show them, like, looking at the booth or whatever, talking to the booth. Everyone there just looked lost. Like, they didn't want to be yelled at, and all you see is Greg screaming at one of them, and it's like, hey, man, the guy's intimidating. He's probably scared the shit out of him a little bit.
Hey, whatever works. So Dixon made those two plays. Then Rutgers got the ball back, didn't do anything. Temple gets the ball back, 3rd and 7, and flip Dixon again. Big PD. They go 3 and out, but then Temple gets the ball. They're driving to start the fourth quarter. I guess it's the first play of the quarter, second play. Yeah, 4th and goal. One. And that was just too easy. The touchdown for Temple.
Yeah, just wide open. Like, I don't know what happened on that drive, and what was it, the drive before that? Drive after that? 2 drives?
Yeah, before that. A couple before that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what happened on those.
The touchdown play that the only touchdown they scored was a crossing route, and the DBs were supposed to pass off, and Rogers was a little slow to pass off. I think it was Max Milton and Eric Rogers, and Rogers was late, so.
Rogers played a lot, but got cooked a lot.
Yeah, he did. He made the one big play, like his first, play of the game, basically, and then that was it. Didn't really have a good game.
Yeah,
but
I think he had the 3rd down pass deflection on the first drive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was it.
So they score a touchdown, and this is where we all get nervous. It's 13-7, but again, as we said in the beginning, best drive, best answer that we've seen in a long time. Wimsatt had the 17-yard pass to Jackson right off the bat. That was awesome. And then it was the Monungai show, 20. And then a couple more runs, and then he gets the touchdown. They don't get the 2-point conversion, but they go up 19-7. Matter of fact, here is the touchdown right here. This is what got it done. And Monungai goes in from there.
Side note, real quick, I believe some people have called us out on this. I believe that is the Troy helmet we put up instead of the Temple helmet.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Nice job, Google.
It's whatever. It's got a T on it. It's white helmet, cherry, white cherry. Like, it's pretty close.
That's a good one though. Nice observation. I like it. Smart guys out there. I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, easy touchdown from Monungai, and that's just, like you said, it capped off a crazy drive. Like, he just couldn't. That was the drive. He could not be stopped. And I was saying, basically, like Pacheco. Like, now you didn't really see Pacheco do much of that at Rutgers, but now he's doing it in the league, and he put his head down and just gone.
Well, it also kind of kicked the offense in the ass a bit, because they were just really, really conservative for like the previous, I would say, like 3 or 4 drives, where it was just like, it felt like you were saying last year's offense, where it was run up the middle, pass on 3rd down, didn't work, or we might have converted and then it was the same script. They started, I think they came out 1st and 10, on the first play of the drive, and ended up completing a long pass. That was the Jaquay completion. You're right. But it just, it felt like we needed to have that drive. We needed to score, and we did. And then the floodgates opened, because the next drive, first pass, interception. So
yeah, that was a bad pass by Warner. Matter of fact, Rutgers got fortunate, because that was poor zone coverage. He was wide open, bad pass, overthrew him. Loyal brings it all the way back 30 yards to the 10. And this is where they, once again, settled for the field goal. This was the lob pass on 3rd down that we talked about to Washington. And before
Yeah.
that, Wims had also ran the ball, I think, a couple of times, and he had a really bad day running the football. And I don't know. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about how you want to see the quarterback in those sets hold the ball, try to make the defense honest, and it just seemed that Wimsat, every time he chose to hold on to the ball, it just didn't get much. I mean, I don't know what his yardage was, but it probably wasn't very good. His
Yeah, it
yard
was
per average.
8 for 24. But he did that. Most of that came on that one carry where it was like a 17-yard gain.
Yes. Yep.
But I thought he didn't do too bad. I'm a little shocked they don't let him kind of just take off more. I feel like they kind of limit him a little bit.
The way he runs reminds me of like, not that he has the same speed as RG3, but like you could tell when guys don't really know or either didn't play baseball or don't have like a good enough awareness of how to keep themselves out of danger, because he dove headfirst a couple times on runs. He was like, his QB designed runs, he basically just like buried his head in the back of an offensive lineman and tried to like dive ahead. You just got to be a little smarter about his, situational awareness when he's running, because he's going to get his clock cleaned one of these times if he's to continue to dive head first.
I feel like that's such a simple thing though. Like you should know as a quarterback, like do not ever slide like head first. Like
yeah, yep.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
So
but I thought he had another good game, Gavin, overall. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, he didn't turn the ball over, which is nice, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
That's again, he's erratic, and it is what it is. I don't think any of that's going to change a whole lot. You hope he's going to get better with that by the end of the season. But the turnovers, if he keeps away from that, that's huge. Monongai had another huge run for 25 after they went up 22-7. Then on 3rd and 7, Soraka, he must have found something on the film, because this was like the second or third time that he was able to get the running back out of the backfield wide open. This time Brown went for 25 to the 2, and then he scored a couple of plays later to go up 29-7.
It was so great seeing him back on the field.
Oh yeah.
Also.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because someone asked a question. Lee Verino in our chat right here just asked a question about this, and he's dead serious with this one. Is Monongai better than Sam Brown?
No.
I agree, but he's dead serious about it though.
Monongai might be a better overall back right now, but Sam Brown's like a legit like NFL prospect at running back. Monongai is just kind of like he's like a Mo Ibrahim light, where you can just like ride him if you need to, especially if you're running against the depleted defense, because I mean, the floodgates didn't really open against Temple until the fourth quarter. Like they were just run down, undersized. We had a clear talent advantage there, because that's the thing that Kyle was saying when we were talking to him earlier in the week. He said that both the offensive and defensive lines at Temple weren't very good, and they were young. And I think they were replacing like 4 starters on the offensive line. Their defensive line, they lost their best player to Wisconsin, I believe, in the transfer portal. So Rutgers really exploited that advantage late in the game, but it took a while.
All right. I am replacing the Troy helmet.
There you
go. You know what got me was I was looking for a white helmet, because they came out with the white helmets, and I was like, I got to look for a white helmet now, and that's what totally screwed it up for me.
Someone brought it up. Troy also lost by 29 today, so it's not
really
too much different. I mean, letter T, cherry, white, lost by 29. But yeah, no, we do have a super chat from William Donahue. He has a question with it too. So shout out to William for that. But do you guys now put a game like Wisconsin in the winnable category? I know Wisconsin lost to Washington State today.
Oh, William was the one that donated $5, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate it, William. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the game yet, but I actually picked Washington State in that game. I thought Wisconsin was getting a little bit, because last week you got to remember. Mordecai threw for 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. The passing game is going to obviously take a while for them to get going. And they ran the ball for over 300 yards. but that's Washington State was a pretty good run defensive team last year. That's the reason that they were able to beat them last year. And so I just think it's going to take Wisconsin. People think it just happens overnight. It just doesn't. These teams that bring in a new head coach, a new scheme, it's going to take. So Wisconsin's going to be a lot better in the season because Washington State's not a bad football team. I think you look at it and you go, oh, Washington State, but they beat them last year. They're a bowl team. So no, I wouldn't. I still think Wisconsin's dangerous, but I'm not really impressed by that whole division anyway. Still, Iowa. Yeah. Is it going to be Iowa again?
Probably right now. Yeah, I would probably say that was an ugly game. I watched that one this afternoon, and it's like just bet the under for fun because it's easy money. Like
every time, right. Like, especially in that series.
Oh yeah, Brian Ferentz is getting fired 100%. Like they have like a mountain climb graphic they tweet out every week now, and it's like he didn't average 25 this week. He's falling down a little bit, and it's like, oh my god, this man is like his job's on the line here, and he's
for those of you who aren't aware of what we're talking about. Brian Ferentz had to not renegotiate his contract. He had to restructure his contract to basically have a lot of his salary be incentive based, where Iowa had to average, I think, 24 points a game on the season in order for him to basically make the money he was supposed to make. And so anyone who's seen The Price is Right, the yodeling man, like you can't go over a certain amount of money in terms of your estimates for products. They have that yodeling man like on the way to averaging that amount of points over the course of the season. So I think it has to be 24 points. So they scored 20 today in a win at Iowa State. In the RNC poll, I'll call it, because I don't know if you saw this, that like half the presidential candidates were there.
Oh yeah, what the hell was that about? Like
that was wild.
Like 5 of them.
Yep. But to answer his question, I do think we're creeping towards Wisconsin being in the possibly winnable category because, like Greg was saying, like these switches don't come overnight, and I don't think you could have a bigger disparity in style of offense than the Phil Longo air raid to what they were running under Paul Chryst. It was just like everybody's like impression of what Wisconsin has been for decades, where it's just like run heavy, and pass when you need to, but primarily just run the ball 60% of the time, power running scheme. And they can still run the ball, don't get me wrong, but I do think this could be a game that Rutgers makes some noise in, where I didn't think that at the beginning of the season.
I just think Camp Randall's so tough. Like if it was a home game, I might actually put that in the winnable category. But now that it's away, and you're probably getting a Wisconsin team that's going to go on a 2-game winning streak versus Purdue and Georgia Southern, and then face Rutgers, I think it's actually they have a bye week. Yeah, they have a bye week too heading into that. So I just think that's really tough one. Is Rutgers on like 4 teams homecoming schedules?
Well, hopefully we'll
it might be. I don't think it's going to be as easy of a homecoming for a lot of these teams as they probably thought when they signed Rutgers up to be their homecoming team.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the bye definitely hurts. That gives them another week to prepare and to get their passing game going. So it might be a bad timing issue for Rutgers. But also, look, even last week against Buffalo, that game early third quarter was nip and tuck. So they it was almost like this game, the Rutgers Temple game. And then finally they just warmed down. They got some work to do. But like you said, answering his question, definitely that's a game right now that, why not? We can believe. I don't think we probably thought that before the season began, but we can believe. Not sure that's going to happen, but Jordan Thompson came up with an interception.
God, that was a defensive end to get an interception.
Yeah, those are the kind of plays that like are just a lot of fun to watch in the meeting room with the team, because it's just like nobody expected him to probably get an interception in his career at Rutgers, let alone this early in the season. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of fun with that.
I feel like he's kind of the forgotten man along that defensive line. A lot of people don't talk about him, but he's played significant snaps so far. He's been rotating in quite a bit.
Yep. The one thing I was surprised too regarding the defensive line, we had a lot of tip balls today. Yeah. And normally those result in more interceptions than we had. I do think we kind of got unlucky with the turnovers today, even though we did have 2 picks and there was a fumble that we didn't recover, but we did recover one. But yeah, there was a lot of opportunities to make this game even uglier than it ended up being in terms of the score, but we didn't take advantage of them.
Yeah, again, we have to go back to how we felt after Temple scored. And the thing is, it happened so fast, the drive to go back up 2 scores, that it's just underscores, no pun intended, how important that was, because they didn't have time. They didn't give Temple any opportunity to think that they really had a shot. It was like, because once you start giving these underdog teams belief, and then all of a sudden you're at home and you're feeling the pressure. This is a game we're supposed to win. We're winning the whole game. And it just happened so fast that as a fan, you were like, wow, I mean, did that just really happen? All of a sudden, all those butterflies that came out of nowhere are gone. Even though they still had to kind of make a few plays to get up that 3rd score. But this was still, look, at the point that happened, I was thinking, it is what it is. I mean, this team is what they are. They only have so much talent right now. And it's great to win these games. And remember, we talked about this last week, Richie, is that I just hate watching these games, because these are games that you're supposed to win. These are the ones that make you most nervous. But next week, that's going to be a little bit different, because what do you think the point spread will be?
Tough one. Virginia Tech's coming off that loss. You have it, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sure it's up now. But you keep talking.
All right, hold on. Let me think about this. Virginia Tech lost. They only lost by 7, even though they were down 17-0. But they lost 24-17. They came back. Rutgers on 2-game winning streak. Rutgers is home. I'm gonna say 2.5 Rutgers, because I feel like they want to give Virginia Tech the spread or the favorite, but since Rutgers is home, they're going to do that 3-point bump.
Is the line out, Mike?
I didn't see it on FanDuel. I'm checking on DraftKings.
So what do you think then? Before you see it, what do you think, Mike?
If I had to guess, the Virginia Techs looked bad in 2 games. Like, they did beat Old Dominion week 1, but that game was ugly. This game, like Richie said, they were down 17-0, and then they go up and tie it, and then they ended up losing to Purdue. Purdue had a bad loss last week too. It's probably 3. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 3.5 Rutgers favorite.
Yeah. I can't imagine them being favored by much more than 4. I think that's got to be the limit. 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, just like you said, in that range from maybe 2.5 to 4.5. Because that line actually started shrinking even and went down to, what was it, like 8 today?
7.5.
It was
7.5
in some books. And I want to just shout myself out. I crushed today. I made like 5K. I was all over Colorado. I bet Colorado up to an alternate spread of 9.5. I was all over Rutgers. I can't lie, I was sweating the hell out of that game until the 4th quarter, but ended up being an awesome betting day for me. And shout out to FanDuel for putting out these awesome promos right now. Like, I had 3. You could do a 3+ legs. It could either be a same game parlay or a multiple game parlay. They give you a 50% odds boost for whatever the final odds ended up being. So
damn,
wild.
Can't beat that. We got another super chat, by the way. No comment on this one, but just P. Mata Poisette. I think I pronounced that correctly. So shout out to you. And then we actually have another one after that too. Underscore HJG underscore. Jeez, I'm struggling there.
Yeah, P-Matt had one last week too.
I think he did. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he HJG. Geez, gotta go slow with that one. That's a tough one. Do we love the mesh or not love the mesh on the run plays?
Love the mesh. I think Gavin's gotten really good at reading and also prolonging the handoff at the mesh point. And that opened up quite a few big holes today by Gavin really forcing the defender to commit.
Yes, that's a great point, Mike, because what I was saying was I didn't like it when he was holding on to the ball, he wasn't getting much. But what was happening is, like you said, the point of it was that he did a really good job of waiting as long as possible to make it difficult for the defense to know where it was going, and that was opening up the running lanes overall. So that's the way you got to look at it. By the way, HJG did donate last week as well. So
look at that. Continuous donators.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Guys, loyalty.
Yeah, absolutely. After 2 weeks.
Go on. My fault.
No, I was just going to say, so because we were already talking about it next week for Virginia Tech, and then after that it's Michigan. So 2-0 is a great place to be when you feel and you know that you better be 2-0 when the season started. That's what we all talked about. But now you have to finish the job, because this is what we talked about. If they're going to go bowling this year, they've got to beat Virginia Tech. We already assumed they were going to win the first two, but now you have to, because this is that tough. This is the one. This is because you, as you said, Rich, this is that kind of make or break tough matchup against a real team, a real Power 5 team that will prove whether or not this team's bowl worthy.
Yeah. No, we said it before the season. BTN even said it. I think Jerry DiNardo actually said, I don't even know the wording. He said something weird like 5, not winnable games. We said 5
matchup games is what he called them.
It's like, what the hell? Just say winnable. So there's 5 winnable games right there, and this would be one of them. You need to win this if you want to get to that 6 mark and get to the bowl game. This is the litmus test. There is no other. Like, I know everyone wanted to go like, hey, like, beat shit out of Northwestern. Great. They're probably the worst team in Power 5.
Yeah.
Although they beat the crap out of Utah today. Easy bet, easy money there today.
UTEP, yeah.
Yeah, UTEP
they were an underdog against UTEP at home. And the funny thing is, you couldn't take it because you didn't know. You didn't know where Northwestern was, but you could also just say to yourself, how in the world is UTEP favored against a Big Ten team on the road?
Yeah, I don't get it.
There was a couple lines today that just made no sense. Like, Colorado was only a 2.5-point favorite against a really bad Nebraska team, and that game was close for a while. Don't get me wrong. Like, UTEP, I couldn't believe that Northwestern was an underdog at home to UTEP. I think people were honestly just saying, like, if they lost this bad to Rutgers, I think they're viewing Rutgers as a much worse team than they are in reality. I think Rutgers is actually, even like, I was kind of buying into the hype a bit, but Rutgers has played even better than I could have even anticipated this season so far, especially on defense. And obviously, it looks like they've made some pretty big strides offensively too. Like, Gavin, he's only passing, I think he's at 54% completion percentage this season, which is a huge jump from last year. But I just think he looks a lot more comfortable out in the field in general.
Yep.
Like, he just looks like, he doesn't look like kind of like deer in the headlights when, a play is there. Like, he's, Kirk's done a great job of calling plays that he's comfortable with. And also there a lot of them are like, just like schemed to get guys wide open. And I think the receivers are better this year than they were last as well.
Yeah. Now devil's advocate, he hasn't played a good secondary or a good defensive line.
Yes. He hasn't played a good team, period.
Yeah. So now this is kind of like I said, their litmus test. Virginia Tech's not good, but they're not bad either. They're pretty decent, I would say.
But it's still a game that, once again, you're going to feel disappointed if they lose. Because
you need them to win.
Because they're in year 2. Their head coach has never been a head coach before. So, not saying he's a bad coach, but they're rebuilding. I just feel, our program is ahead of them. And we're at home. So, and again, you lose to Purdue.
The crowd comes in.
So, yeah, I think must win.
William Donahue donated another donation over here. I don't know if people could see the amount or not. I almost said it out loud. How dare the refs throw a flag on Greg? He's such a great coach and man. I mean, they said they're not tolerating it anymore. And if we know Greg, if Greg's upset with the call, like, he's probably gonna get a flag for it at this point.
Yeah, they showed it on TV. You could pretty easily read his lips from what he was saying, and he went like past the hash marks onto the field during a timeout, and he was waving his finger at the referee, saying like, "Come here, I need to talk to you," and then pointed his finger at the ground. And they did say on TV that it's a point of emphasis that basically if you're like cursing out a ref or if you're yelling at a ref, they're just not going to deal with it. I do think that at that point, like Greg had seen enough bad calls where he wasn't gonna just. It's kind of like when a basketball coach gets a tee, like he feels he needs to kind of like, give the team that energy, make the team feel like he's fighting for them. Yeah. So it was a really, really poor time to get that penalty because I think we were getting the ball at the 25, or 25 or the 20. We had I think we were up like 19-7 at that point, where this was still a drive we really needed to get points on the board for, and he did set the team back a little bit. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I didn't think he probably deserved it, but they did say they're making it a point of emphasis, so you have to be aware of that.
He also said congrats on your big day and start sharing your picks on the podcast. Stop being that guy.
All right, I'll share them. I'm not lucky by any means, but lucky being the lucky had a good day though.
You got your NFL picks ready?
Oh yeah, actually,
I got my NFL picks ready.
What are you going with? Go ahead, share.
I think the Eagles are gonna just beat the brakes off the Patriots.
Homer.
Like the Patriots are having line issues. Listen, the Eagles are a better team than they were last year when they.
Oh, really?
The NFL. I think they basically replaced Javon Hargrave with a bunch of young guys. I do think Jalen Carter will be better than him by the end of the season. Maybe not day one. But the thing is, like, they got so lucky last year with injuries. Like, they had basically nobody get hurt, and they relied on a lot of veterans. So I do think that the injury karma might swing the opposite way.
Yes. That's the thing I talked about on the show. My show is that's the thing they have to worry about is they lost a lot of depth in free agency.
Yep.
And if they have injuries, that's going to be the thing that they're going to have to deal with that they didn't have to. And they had 2 coordinator changes. So it's a lot.
Yep.
I mean, automatic lock, Jaguars versus Colts.
I agree. I love the Jags as well.
New head coach,
Jags,
Colts, new quarterback.
Jags spread, Jags money line. Because I agree.
I'd go spread. I think spread would be easy.
Spread's fine. Yeah. I mean, Richardson, first game.
He was bad in the preseason too. He had a couple like, what are you doing? You need to throw that away. You need to dirt it and just like trying to be a hero out there because that's what he had to
Richardson.
do last year.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah.
I blame that head coach they got. That shitty OC.
Steichen. Steichen's great. Jonathan Gammons
a weirdo. That guy is fucking strange. You see the videos with him?
Jonathan
Gannon, the Cardinals head coach. The videos like him like dapping up the players, and he's just like, ha. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, be a person.
I also love Atlanta tomorrow. I don't think Carolina's very good. I think they're going to have a pretty rough year in general. I don't think they really have anybody that scares you on offense, and that's not a good thing.
Sanders.
Oh my God, no!
Come on, man, ride the bus.
Nope.
I think the Bengals over Browns it's only 1.5, which is a little shocking to me. The Bengals are favored.
Yeah, Bengals.
I mean, it's shocking, but then if you dig deeper into it, Joe Burrow is either 1-5 or 0-5 in his career against the Browns. They just seem to have his number. They have a really good defensive line. They've struggled on the offensive line. I don't know if he's fully healed from that calf injury he had in the summer.
True.
So.
Yep, that matters. Vegas
and then
knows...
the Steelers, or not Steelers, 49ers versus Steelers.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm a little shocked the Steelers are a lot of people are buying into that Kenny Pickett hype, and I just can't get into it.
I mean, Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Like, shocking. He never had a losing season somehow as an NFL head coach.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome.
Big Ben being like a shell of himself for the final 2 years. Kenny Pickett not really being great last year, but I think he's going to be one of the more improved players this year. Deontay Johnson is a guy who had like 150 something targets last year and didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah,
I think
wild.
George Pickens takes a big leap. I think Pat Freiermuth takes a big leap. I think their run game's total cheeks. Najee Harris is still very good.
Jalen Warren might be pretty good.
Jalen Warren's going to end up usurping Najee Harris this year.
And that is one of the big reasons why everybody's talking about running backs. And you don't pay running backs, you don't draft running backs, and that is the perfect example. If you believe in that, is you got a first-round draft pick and you have a guy who wasn't even drafted, and the guy that wasn't drafted might end up beating out the guy that was the first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I can see it for sure.
I know this is an NFL post-game show, but a lot of people.
Yeah, we kind of ended our Rutgers post-game show about 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. We'll see. We'll scan the chat to see if there's any questions we could hit up.
Are they going to Virginia Tech? I think it's going to be close. I don't know if you guys have comments on that one.
What was that?
Are they going to beat Virginia Tech next week? Virginia Tech.
Mike?
Full disclosure, I haven't done a whole lot of prep on Virginia Tech, but I think Rutgers is rolling right now, and Virginia Tech is kind of limping. So that's my really terrible off the cuff take. I think Rutgers is going to win next week. I don't know what the spread is yet, so I can't say if they're going to cover or not. But
I agree. Like I said, I think I'm going to be very disappointed if they lose that game next week. So I'm anticipating a win. I just don't think Virginia Tech's better than Rutgers at this point, and I think losing to Purdue proved it.
Yep.
Another one, Nassim Brantley. I guess I'll just answer that one. It's just an ongoing thing. I don't think he's going to get eligible at this point. I think it's going to be just like Devontae Walker down at UNC. I think he's going to get denied. 2-time transfer. There's really no way around it. And he'll sit out this year, and he could be wide receiver 1 next year maybe. So it's not a bad thing to have him next year because the wide receiver core next year is still going to be relatively young. But it's also kind of BS, and Shiano said it. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like the kid's coming home to Jersey, and it's the same thing with Walker. He's going home North Carolina. Like they're grad transfers. It's not like they're doing anything crazy. They're just going to play closer to home. And NCAA doesn't see it that way, and they're kind of very anti-transfers now, anti-2 transfers. So I just don't think anything's going to be announced by that anytime soon.
Yeah, that was what happened to that. What was that? That Kent transfer at North Carolina was terrible.
Yeah. And he's a guy who took a visit to Rutgers, too. He took a visit in December to Rutgers, and everyone was kind of shocked by it. I was, too. And then we had heard afterwards that he wouldn't end up being eligible. But it's like, why do you even take that visit if you know that to be true? So I think that wasn't 100% locked in. And then he ended up going home, like you said, to North Carolina, and he still got denied. So,
yeah, kind of crazy.
So Virginia Tech, they were down 17-0. They came back and tied the game at 17-17 going into the fourth quarter. Then Purdue scored. They outgained Virginia Tech 427 to 286 total yards. And for the second straight week, Virginia Tech just not running the football. So they haven't been successful on the ground. They're really relying on Grant Wells, who had a good game against Old Dominion, but wasn't all that great against Purdue. Had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, again, I'm just looking at stats, but overall, Virginia Tech's running game, they just seem a little bit one-dimensional. I mean, Allie Jennings is a nice receiver. It came from Old Dominion transfer. But they don't really have enough playmakers. They got Lane and Jennings at receiver. Those are going to be a couple guys that are going to be tough to cover because we had some problems against Temple's receivers a few times as we saw. So that's where I'd be the most concerned. But they don't seem to be capable of getting much respect running the football. So they're probably right now a little one-dimensional.
So Allie Jennings left the game in the first quarter with an injury, was not able to put any weight on his left ankle. So we'll see what happens there. He was carted off out of the locker room on a cart with his left foot in a boot during the weather delay.
Okay. So he has a week off.
That could be a very interesting case because that's basically he's an I think he's an All-American honorable mention by Phil Steele.
Yep.
So he's a hell of a player. So,
And
yeah,
their
that could be
offensive
huge.
line is really a weakness as well, and that's probably the reason they can't run the football.
Yeah, but
Yep.
see, I thought Temple's was a weakness, but then the D line just didn't get really a push. But again, it's Warner just being Warner.
I mean, Rutgers held Temple to 2.8 yards a rush on the day,
Yeah.
68 total yards.
That's true.
I do kind of want to do a rundown of the stats for today. So Rutgers, once again, over 50% conversion on third down, 8 of 15. 452 total yards, 198 of that through the air, 254 of that on the ground. Pat myself on the back. I predicted them to run over 200 yards in this game. They almost averaged as a team 5 yards a rush. I think last week the easiest way to describe the total team performance was clean. I think that is not the way I would describe today's performance. They had 5 penalties for 57 yards. They did lose a fumble, but they once again dominated time possession. 35 minutes to 25. So you got to love that you're able to hold on the ball as long as they did today and week one. That's going to be the script, I think, all season is they're going to try and get ahead and just run out the clock. And I know that's like the majority of head coaches try and implement that strategy into a game, but Rutgers is actually being able to do it against inferior teams, albeit. But overall, feel good about this win. Just was a little scary there at the third quarter, fourth quarter turn.
Yeah, definitely sweating for a minute. Like, what the hell is going on? But they pulled it out, and they played pretty well. One thing we didn't really talk about was punt returner. He kept Rochelle in there after all those muffs last week.
What is a punt returner? Are they actually supposed to like move the ball forward when they catch it? Because I think what our guys just they just catch it and they wave their hand in the air. What is that called? Is that called a fair catch?
But it was a little nerve-wracking those first couple of opportunities. He didn't look like he was. It didn't look like he was making sure that the only thing he was going to do was follow that ball into his hands and make sure that he didn't screw anything up. It was a little nervous, but he didn't fumble. He didn't muff it this week. So
he also had a really big block on Monangai's touchdown to put him at 20.
Rochelle?
Yeah, Rochelle had a really big block. Not a lot of people saw it, but he came around like through the backfield a little bit on the play call and just whacked like the edge rusher real quick, and it was really nice.
Who was the player of the game?
It's got to be Monangai.
Yeah, got to be Monangai.
Yeah, without a doubt. 28 for what, 160 something? I don't even think that's like his highest ever. I think his highest ever they said was last year.
Yeah, against Michigan State, I think.
Who apparently is in turmoil all of a sudden. I don't know if you saw that report that just came
Mel
out
Tucker
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, he's the focus of a sexual harassment investigation at Mississippi State.
From months ago.
You hate to see it. Such a nice guy, such a good dude. Definitely doesn't steal people's mantras or, just totally act like an asshole in general.
And when did this happen?
Like 20 minutes
story
ago,
dropped.
maybe.
No, I mean, when did this supposedly happen? When he harassed someone?
It said Michigan State knew for months, so...
Yeah, he's been apparently being investigated for months, but it just broke today.
It's like a Eugene Amaruyi fucking type news break. Hey, midnight, throw it out there. No one will know.
Yeah.
And remember, we talked about it last week. It is just so interesting about how Kirk, his offense, his running game, just everything down the middle. It's like you don't see anything to the outside. He doesn't put his players in position to get negative yardage. And now you think when you start playing tougher competition and you can't dominate the line of scrimmage, that's going to be a little bit difficult because if the opposing team, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, these teams, all right, we know they want to come up the middle, so that's where we're going to go after them. Rutgers is not going to win those battles. So it'll be interesting to find out how he adapts, or does he, or is he just nope? We're gonna do what we do, and hopefully we break it, even if we got to go 1-2. Even if we have to struggle a little bit. But I just find it refreshing. It might be boring to some people, but I find it refreshing that we have a coordinator now that actually has a plan and that could actually find ways to to find something on film to take advantage of, and on those passes out of the backfield, and he made some really great calls today, and it's just really nice to see, and it just shows you why. Again, that's why I think that we're a better team right now than Virginia Tech, a better program, because I think we're so well coached, and I think will get us over the top in some of those games that are going to be considered pick'em games, like the Virginia Tech games, or at least you hope. If you don't throw the ball away, throw the game away, you don't do anything stupid, your coaching should get you over the top in these types of games. So he's off to a great start. The coaching staff's done a really good job so far.
No, I thought he's done great, really good so far. It's a little conservative at times. Like
it is.
That third quarter, I was like, oh shit! Like three drives in a row. I think it was. I did the math. I posted in our story. I think it was 16 plays on 3 drives for like 40 yards, and it's like, all right, well, what's going on? And then I don't know if do you say you got lucky and Monangai just started exploding for big runs, or because it seemed like the same play calls for the most part. It's not like he changed it. Like he was just adamant, like this is gonna work. I know it's gonna work.
I don't know, but that's why it was so refreshing and surprising when they came right down and scored that touchdown after Temple scored, because it came out of nowhere.
It's true.
But Wimsatt also missed some pass. See, if Wimsatt is a little bit more, if he's not so erratic. We probably score at least one more time before the fourth quarter, but he just misses too many easy passes. Look, he makes a lot of good passes, a lot better than he made last year, that's for sure. And he's done a really good job, but he's also missing, as usual, some passes that are just too easy that would keep drives alive.
Yeah,
so
I agree. And he throws like 100 miles per hour. And like they brought it up on the broadcast today, and that was probably the smartest thing the broadcast said today, was that he throws just sometimes he doesn't know like when to throw it a little softer. The guy will be like 5 yards in front of him, and it's like, boom, dart. And it's like, well, no wonder he dropped it. You just hit him with a 100 mile per hour fastball.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that Mike McMahon said to us when we interviewed him in the summer about like what he thought of Gavin was like. I think Mike McMahon used the story about when he was in the NFL, and I forget what receiver it was. It was like some receiver who played in the NFL like 10 years, and he's like, don't you ever, because they were in practice and McMahon threw like a fastball to him on a slant, and he's like, don't you ever throw it that hard to me on that route again. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he was just talking about how important it is to like basically have like a total tool belt of like different types of throws. Like sometimes you need to loft it. And I think he was comparing it to golf, where like, sometimes you need your 7-iron to, sometimes you need your sand wedge, sometimes you need the driver, but you don't always need to drive it. Sometimes you just got to like loft it, get it out of the sand wedge, get it out of the whatever. I'm exhausted, but just you don't always need to throw it at 100 miles an hour. The basic point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're gonna get out of here. We're all getting a little worn down.
Yeah, I gotta wake up. Get the bacon, get some pork roll going, get ready for mimosas, get ready for some football.
Sunday football.
A day of football where I don't have to cover like 6 games. It's great.
And you've got a Sunday night game, Richie. Your team is on Sunday night.
We're winning.
My team is on Monday night, so it's going to be a big prime time weekend.
Are you a Jets fan?
Yep.
Oh yeah. How do you feel? I don't want to take this too far in the NFL, but how do you feel about their chances this year?
I mean, how can you not be optimistic? You know what really I'm optimistic about is that for the first time in years, I've never seen them this healthy. And health, as we all know, like you said with the Eagles, usually playoff teams are the ones that are the most healthy. If you have the talent, and they have the talent now, and if they can remain healthy, that defense is also just, to me, that's the thing I'm going to be excited about seeing on Monday night is the defense.
So I'll tell you this real quick before we get ready to sign off. I was in the press box the other day, and I heard I shouldn't even say the other day, and I overheard a notable NFL writer who also covers local sports, so he's covering Rutgers for the game. He said specifically, word for word, he said the Giants look pretty good. The Jets look great. So take that for what it's worth. That's a guy who watches practice multiple times per week.
Yeah,
Covers both teams. So
they do, and that's the scary thing. But unless you go out and do it, sort of like Lions fans, you know, I'm sure they were all wondering, is it for real? And then they proved it.
Yeah.
And now the Jets need to prove it. Because
mean, Mike Tirico, I don't know if you heard him yesterday, said there's an asterisk next to that win, and I'm like, dude, what do you mean asterisk? They beat the Chiefs fair and square.
I know, right? So ridiculous.
Yeah.
They always do that. You see, that's the thing that just drives you crazy is that if the Chiefs would have beat if it would have been where the Chiefs beat the Lions and the Lions didn't have Montgomery or Amon St. Brown, nobody would have said a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the good teams when they have guys banged up and hurt, they got an excuse.
Yeah.
It's because this guy didn't play. That guy didn't play. So give the Lions a lot of credit. That was an awesome win.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
do you guys talk NFL at all, like on any of your shows, or obviously you only have I only know about your Rutgers football channel. Is that you don't talk NFL anywhere?
No, they've actually, ironically, people have put in our comments recently to tell us to go start talking Giants and Eagles, but no, and we never really dabbled in it.
If you guys want to talk NFL on my channel, you're welcome. So, I don't actually have an NFL show I do each week. I interview a bunch of guys in the NFL. I interview, guys who have channels for teams. I do a college football handicapping show, but I do not have an NFL show. So if you guys want to talk NFL anytime or whenever, just let me know. I'm open to it. I've got the channel, and maybe, you could share the favor on my channel.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have enough time to do multiple shows in terms of stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah.
My schedule is crazy. But anyway, the invite's there. So next week, thank goodness, it'll be a 7:00 post-game show-ish.
Probably around there, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good. This was crazy. And no more night games?
I don't think so.
As of now, so far. No.
As of now, yeah. I guess they could add one technically, but
there's only 4 other games that have times announced. Virginia Tech's 3:30. The other 3 that are announced are at noon. So that's at Michigan the following week.
Mm-hmm.
Homecoming versus Michigan State on October 14th, and at Indiana on October 21st at noon. I could see Ohio State being a night game if Rutgers has, I think they play them as the 9th game of the season. If Rutgers is like, 5-3 going into that game, or 6-2, I could see that being a night game. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves with maybe predicting that kind of record, but I could see that being a night game. But that's really the only one left on the schedule I could see being a night game, at home at least.
What did we get off to last year?
We started 3-0 last year.
Yeah, maybe that should be a good reminder for us.
Yep. We started 3-0 actually each of the last 2 seasons.
Oh, right. Yeah. Uh-oh. And considering Michigan is week 4, that stops once again. So at least this time it's Wagner in week 5 as opposed to Ohio State.
Jeez.
Which was the last 2 years. So we can't really say anything, but still every year is different. And hopefully we'll worry about going 3-0 after next week's game. Hopefully we can get to that point and talk about it. So guys, appreciate it. Good to have you on here, Mike. Hopefully we'll talk to both of you again if you're going to stop by again next week. So
yeah. Sounds good to me.
And it's probably going to be a lot tighter next week. I anticipate we're probably going to have to sweat it out next week. So
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some easy ones the first 2 weeks.
That's a good start, though.
Yep, absolutely. Want to thank everybody also for chiming in on the chat board, and also for anybody who donated as well. Don't forget, if you are watching this on demand, all you have to do is hit the thanks button on the channel, and that also will give you the opportunity to donate to the channel if you'd like to do that. Either way, we appreciate it. donations or not. And guys, great job. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys.
See you, Mike.
Yeah.